here at Reality Radio, where everybody could be a star. My name is Clinton Paris, and I am the host of Straight Up the Middle, here live on In Touch News. And listen, Straight Up the Middle is a nationally focused political show where we engage in some discussion of the politics of the day and the issues that are affecting our society, our world, and just kind of flesh out kind of where things are going and how we can make this place a little bit better than we found it. And so our goal on In Touch is really to just talk about a lot of things. I don't know about you all. I have to watch myself because I find more and more the older I get. Well, let me say this. I can remember being a kid, coming home and running in the house, and I'd peep in the kitchen, and my mom might be in the kitchen or doing laundry or something, and I'd hear her talking. And I'm like, oh, let me see. Let me guess who's over visiting mom today. And I peep around the corner, and there'd be nobody there. And she would just be talking. She'd just be going on and on, talking about whatever she's talking about, And I said, well, that's kind of weird. And then I learned later, it's okay to talk to yourself. What you cannot do, though, you cannot have a conversation. You can't answer your own questions. You can't have two people in your head talking back and forth at the same time. So she was fine doing that, talking, and I thought, wow, that's just and she was just getting stuff off her chest, getting it out of her mind, things that she wanted to flesh out, whatever it may be. But I'm finding myself more and more in moments, walking to take out the trash, and sound like I just break out in conversation, a monologue to myself. Or I'm stopped at the red light and I'm going at it. And as you all who have been on this show and listened to me for some time know, I can get going pretty good. As my son says, Dad, how do you wake up on 8? But I get going, I look over to the side, being there's somebody in another car, and they're looking at me like, who is this fool talking to over there? Well, I'm talking to myself. As long as I don't answer, as long as I don't talk back to myself, I think I'm okay. And some of you may be that way as well. You may be looking at some of this stuff going, what in the heck is happening? What are your thoughts about this? And you're just expressing it. Very therapeutic, I would say. And somewhere there's some young psychology major that's working on a dissertation. You can take that and go ahead and write your doctorate and get credit for it. Just throw a little footnote in that it started with Clint Paris on In Touch News. So I'm often finding myself in my car talking to myself about stuff. It could be all kinds of stuff, the kids, the family, whatnot. And in particular, politics, because I love politics. I grew up in a political way, watching politics, learning about politics, trying to come to understand this authoritarian system that runs our lives, because it does. So here on this show, it is your chance to not look crazy. You can actually engage in a conversation if you want to. Or you can sit and listen to me as I go through out my trash, talk to myself. The call-in number is 813-444-9588. As you know, we have a co-host. His name is Professor Tony Seabrook. He's a educator at one of the local colleges, and he comes on the show and tries to give an alternative perspective about things and the way people are functioning and living, which is great. Again, it prevents me from looking and sounding crazy, and I think we've got him right here. Professor, is that you on the call?
And this is good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you today?
I'm pretty good.
Good. I know that you're dealing with educating the youths of tomorrow in class, and I appreciate you taking some time out this morning to stop in with us. I gotta start with the first one, the courthouse barbecue. You know what I'm talking about. We've got somebody outside the courthouse in New York setting themselves on fire. Now that's somebody set themselves on fire a couple weeks ago, as well, somewhere else. They were not in the situation, but and I know what you were thinking. You had your fingers crossed. You're saying, I hope this is not a Trump supporter that's decided to protest the trial by cooking themselves in front of everybody.
Well, I'll tell you what. I did not know about it. My dissertation chair actually told me, look, I'm going to have to send your feedback tonight or tomorrow, because my daughter told me someone was on fire outside of Trump's trial. And I'm like, that's a weird way to not give me feedback, but okay.
Yeah, he was blazing.
And sure enough,
he was full blaze. 1:30 in the afternoon. 1:30 in the afternoon.
But the bigger shock to me was he was from Florida.
Right. Basil said the same. Well, no. I'm not. No, tell me, why were you shocked?
Because the family said that they didn't even know he left. He drove from I don't know if he lived in St. Augustine or he was from St. Augustine. Oh, we didn't even know he left the state, but he was up there for quite a few days. So it sounded kind of fishy. But so he drove from Florida to New York. But if you look at the pamphlets that he left, they weren't necessarily Trump.
No.
So it's a mixed bag. I'm not sure what the guy was actually, besides some old conspiracy theories, but I'm not sure where he lands.
Yeah, now from a political standpoint, I just think he was a crazy. Just in my book, just what you get around Trump. You just get him from Florida going to wherever Trump is. So hey, let me get over to some more serious stuff. It looks like the Ukraine-Israeli funding package, $95 billion, is going to move forward. The Democrats came in and boosted Mike Johnson to get that moving. One, do you think it's going to pass? And two, is he in real trouble?
Yeah, I think it's going to pass. I think it's a foregone conclusion that we're going to support that war to its end.
You mean at Hamas, the Hamas war with Israel?
Well, no, I'm talking Ukraine war.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know which one.
Yeah. Now, I'm hoping, I don't know if I thought you said the Ukraine bill.
It's both. So they have, it's four parts, I think, in there. There's Ukraine, there's Israel, there's some Pacific stuff, and then some other, but the main two things are Israel and Ukraine. Right.
And they split them out this time instead of lumping them together and voting on it. That was the issue before. But yeah. I mean, I think they both passed. Obviously, I think we've been in this Ukraine thing too long, so I hate to say it like, okay, they hadn't won yet, they're on their own, but if it were a friend borrowing money and, okay, we've been 3 years at me lending you money, you hadn't finished the deal, I'm just going to stop giving you money. We'll deal with the consequences later. And that's kind of how I look at Ukraine. And so, because I'm not a politician, it's just like, okay, enough's enough. Obviously, a man of faith, I have a historical perspective on Israel, and I think there's some prophecy there. So no matter how long it takes, I stand with Israel.
You have any concern that after Russia finishes with Ukraine, it picks out one of these other small little countries and says, "Hey guys, come on home." Come on.
No.
Now, why not? They did it in Crimea. They're now in Ukraine.
Right. As far as the land that I'll say like this, as far as the territory that they've already advanced and taken, I thought that was kind of part of the deal, actually. And to me, that would be a good way that both can kind of get something out of it. Ukraine didn't.
What did Ukraine get out of it? What does Ukraine get out of it?
They're not totally under Russian rule. I mean, they're not totally there. Whatever. I don't say whatever cities, but whatever land or territory they lost, I think it's going to come out of that. And what else can come out of it? Either you're going to defeat Russia and they're going to give up everything, which I don't know. I don't know if Putin's going to do that, because I think he still has enough arsenal to just make a last stand. And I think that's what the military is up against. Do they really want to push him? And he does something stupid with those nuclear weapons.
But why would, if this worked in him getting incredibly more land, more resources, why would it stop him from now going and getting some more? If this is this is how we're going to run this, is we make a demand and we wait you out. And does it send a bad signal to like China as it relates to Taiwan or some of these other countries that have, aggression ideas that, hey, look, don't worry about America. they don't have a stomach for a protracted fight. And so we can go do what we want to do.
Well, I'll answer it this way. If Trump were in office and Russia were doing this, it'd be a whole different news headlines, and Trump knew, and Putin had something on Trump, blah, blah, blah. But guess what? It's Joe Biden's administration that's soft, that doesn't have the gut to go to war and really stand up and get this thing done with. So we can do the what ifs and the what ifs, but as it stands, this is all on President Biden. Everything that's going on over there, especially China eyeballing Taiwan, Iran and Israel, the Houthis, all this is on Joe Biden.
I'm not sure if I thought America for probably about 50 years has been signaling, we really don't have the stomach for what it takes to wipe somebody out. And that goes back to Korea, Vietnam. I can keep on going. We don't have the stomach for it.
That, but you don't have to go that far back, because
I do want to go that far back, because you want to hang. You're indicating all of this is Joe Biden, and I'm like, no. America's been saying to the rest of the world for some time now, we get bored with something, we'll move on, and we'll just come up with something. We'll come up with something expedient, like I think the Korean, issue is an example of that. We'll come up with something that's convenient in the moment and move on. And I think that we are much worse off now than if we had have dealt with that back then. You go to Vietnam, we eventually became a money thing, became pure money. They just shut off the money, and all our allies in Vietnam were left to themselves. We just packed up and left Afghanistan. We kind of did. We were going to do the same thing in Iraq. We've not committed to what it takes to deal with the Syria issue and get that resolved. We've kind of pawned that off to Turkey and some other countries. But somehow this issue here rests by itself. I don't buy that.
Well, let me speak. Let me speak to this before I run. Well, that's historical perspective, but I think you have to put everything else in perspective as far as what our foreign affairs matters was. What we were doing. We didn't have cameras everywhere. We didn't have this, America's doing this, that, and the other. But now everything. Now, certainly they've always had photographers over and reporters over in war zones. But I'm talking about at least more recent history. I'm using like the USS Cole under Clinton. He did nothing. When Russia took Crimea Georgia under Obama, he did a whole lot of talking. Everyone said that Rocket Man was going to do something when Trump got in office. He did nothing. Everyone said that Putin was going to be this jerk when Trump was in office. Putin did nothing. Now we have Joe Biden, who's been there, 50 years through all of this, and look what's happening. So that's the way we keep score. Now, you can give that nice historical perspective, and it sounds good. But right now, this is all on Joe Biden.
Well, you saw how big a fight he had just getting funding to help Ukraine. You think that there would be support for the Republicans if he did more? I'm confused on those two. You're saying his fault is happening, but he can't get Republicans to go along with doing something about it.
Well, again, if it were Trump in office, I don't think he'd be taking this stand. So all we're going to say is it's all on Joe Biden.
Well, that's okay. We can tolerate that. Well, okay, Professor, we appreciate you taking the time in the morning, giving your class a break. You can get back to work educating the leaders of tomorrow, and hopefully we'll get you back in the studio pretty soon.
All right, thank you.
All right, take care. All right, that was the professor calling in to kind of set the table and do his usual, it's all Joe Biden's fault. Which, you know what the great thing about that is? We're grown men. We can accept responsibility, and we will respond accordingly. So let's take a quick break, and you will get my response on the other side. In-Touch News Radio, reality radio, everybody can be a star. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers on the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
This is Attorney Clinton Paris. Accidents are beyond your control, but deciding who will represent you is your decision. If you've been injured, call me at the law office of Clinton Paris for a free consultation. 813-413-7924. Offices Riverview.
We're playing your favorite old school. Today's R&B. With a smooth touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/here for you.
In Touch Radio is smooth soul.
Rocking your radio on the sounds of soul.
Playing your favorite R&B. In Touch Radio.
Again, my name is Clinton Paris. I'm the co-host of Straight Up the Middle. So we just had the professor call in. He's a co-host of the show as well, and he called in to give an interesting perspective. And let me just sum up what he said. He said it's all Biden's fault. It's all Biden's fault. The situation in Ukraine, all Biden's fault. Hamas, all Biden's fault. And I don't think you can ever, take one thing and attach total responsibility, because world politics is a continuum of relationships, of actions and reactions and things of that nature. And I'll give you a good example. We just had this issue with Iran and Israel happen. Or Hamas in Israel. Oh my God, Hamas, they just invaded Israel. They just took off and invaded. Well, not exactly. Hamas is responding to decades of oppression by Israel. Decades. Whether you want to say it's valid, lawful, not, whenever you finish those words, you're going to still have oppression, where people's lives and what they're able to do, things they're able to get involved in, schools they go to, jobs they have. It's all under an oppressive type of structure that's set up by Israel, right? So when you look at Hamas's response in that context, that's, part of it. Then you look at the Israeli response. It's not in a vacuum. It's in response to many, many, many invasions and attacks they've suffered since they were created. I was back in the late 40s, 50s. But all these things are connected. The same thing with American world politics. The situation in Ukraine is connected to many, many things. And some of it, happened under the Biden watch. Most of it did not, though. A lot of it has to do with Russia's ambitions for Europe long term. And so if you don't have a perspective of history, it's hard to appreciate, where the responsibilities lie for certain things. I doubt that there's a lot Joe Biden did or couldn't have done to deal with the Ukraine issue. For example, as Russia's saying, hey, they're getting their troops together, they're loading them on the border. If America drops in 100,000 troops on the border to deal with Ukraine, issue in Russia, everybody go, whoa, wait, you're escalating, you're antagonizing, you're gonna make them invade, and then Russia goes, we had to invade, that kind of stuff. All these things are connected. They're connected to UN membership and so many other things. So I think it's a short-sighted view to say the Ukraine war is a complete, total result of things that Joe Biden did. That's one part. But if you're going to give blame, you got to give credit, right? If you're going to give blame, you should give credit. And so United States should get credit for the fact that, let's say this, China has not invaded Taiwan. Do we get credit for that? Do we get to go out and say, see, I told you, because of what we're doing, they're not invading. So passing blame, I think, is in this context is very narrow, and it's not the way I think that we should look. You've got to be more holistic in your approach to looking at stuff. And you know what that takes? That takes really getting to know history. You know, usually when I hear something, for example, let me take this for example. When I heard about the Ukraine war, my first thing I did is I went to my great resource for information, Wikipedia, and I said, let me find out about Ukraine. What's the deal with Ukraine? What's the Ukrainian history? You know, what's their demographics? You know, what's been happening here? And then I learned a couple of things. I didn't know how economically important Ukraine was to world hunger. Ukraine grows, I think, 1/3 of the wheat that is exported all over the place. And most countries in Africa, they buy and sell. They depend on that wheat. Countries like you wouldn't think, like Egypt, they depend on that wheat. And if you go down into Africa, many of the countries there depend on grain coming out of Ukraine. Then I found something else out. Ukraine has discovered massive oil reserves. Massive oil reserves. What do we know about Russia? Russia has very significant oil reserves. So there's another thing that shows up. Not in the politics. Those are just some of the factors here at play. Then you go back through Ukrainian history, and right before during this current government was in place, the previously elected president of Ukraine was ousted. He packed up in the middle of the night and went to Russia. Now, he went to Russia because basically he got word that, look, they're coming to get me. Well, we get a snapback process, and you get the current government. So you have an argument in Ukraine right now that, hey, this new government, it really is not as legitimate as everyone thinks it is. It's not through a normal process of evolution and things of that nature. You got that factor. Then you've got this issue of Ukraine used to be a part of Russia. And then, of course, it became its own. Well, I'm sorry. It was part of the Soviet Union. And as we've heard previously, Putin wants to put the band back together, meaning all the Soviet bloc countries. Well, you could tell one. Why? I just told you. Massive, massive farmland right there in Ukraine. Massive oil reserves right there. A warm seaport. You know, it just you know, it's like America when we moved out west and the Louisiana Purchase. So I could see that. That's not Joe Biden doing that. That's not Joe Biden's doing that. Then let me throw this at you. Let me throw this at you, right? What is our obligation to defend Ukraine? What really is it? What really is it? But for its connection to our other NATO allies that are in that region. Because we have a vested interest there because of what is Article 5. If any of them get attacked, then we've got to come to their defense collectively. Everybody's got to defend them. So you've got Ukraine. So I think the hedge was let's make this fight right now. Let's make this fight right now in Ukraine. So we got another caller calling in. Good morning, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good morning. It's Carl, the trucker, calling in. Since the professor want to blame my president, I'm going to blame his president for withholding aid to Ukraine, so that weaken them. So that's why Russia kind of attack them.
Now, and when you say weaken Ukraine, you're talking about when Joe Biden basically called over to Ukraine, trying to get them to,
right.
come out with certain statements or take certain action or provide evidence that Joe Biden had been paid off in exchange for getting rid of the prosecutor in Ukraine. Correct?
Right. So I'm gonna blame his president Trump. Blame his president Trump for the war in Ukraine. But he weakened them and let Russia invade.
I mean, I hear that, and that's one way to look at it. But there's no doubt we could have done more. Obama had the chance to give Ukraine more weapons. He did not. But you don't. What about the fact that Donald Trump felt under attack by the Democrats trying to impeach him, and he was looking for something to fight back with?
Yeah, that's true. You're right. He did.
And so he came up with this Ukraine thing. By the way, where's the impeached Joe Biden? Where does that stand right now?
That's going nowhere because they have nothing to impeach him on.
That's what I thought.
They can't connect him. They can't connect to anything, and that's what they are. I mean, they're not doing any. They're not doing anything for the country because they're too busy trying to impeach a president that has nothing on him.
So I get the impeachment thing. It kind of was. It was just something to feed to their base, and I'll tell you, Carl, I watch a lot of shows where they go out and they parody and interview the people around Joe Biden's events and things of that nature. One in particular is the guy that's selling the Donald, not Joe Biden, but Donald Trump events. And there's a guy selling the Donald Trump Bible outside the Donald Trump event. And it is hilarious. He's asking the people questions and giving quotes from the Bible. And the fact that some of them were kind of surprised, like, to see the Bible. They thought it was a joke first. Then they realized it really is a Bible. Then it was funny to me watching how many of them wanted to just like turn and run away. And then the last one, of course, the number of people that want to buy it. They're like, well, I'll buy it. The guy was selling them. He's selling them for $10, to people. And here are people who are frame themselves as Christians. But Donald Trump brings out the crazies. He brings them out, Carl. And in fact, we just had this situation happen up in New York where what I call it, the courthouse barbecue. The guy sets himself on fire outside of Donald Trump's trial going on Friday. Did you hear about that?
Yes, I heard it. Yeah.
All right, so let's do this real quick. We're at the bottom of the hour. I'm going to take a break, and we come back on the other side, Carl. I want to get your thoughts about when you heard about it, if it has any meaning. Now, we don't know if this guy is associated with Donald Trump. The only two things we know is that he came from Florida, St. Augustine, and he set himself on fire inside the courthouse. So let's take a quick break. Come back on the other side. Let me get your comments on that. This is In Touch News Radio, reality radio where everybody can be a star. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Are you missing church?
Yes!
Well, you don't have to. Listen in every Sunday to Reverend Dr. Maurice Johnson. Voice your victory from the Memphis Christian Center at 11 a.m. Central Time and 12 noon Eastern Time on In Touch Radio.
Hi, I'm Angela Birdsong, and during the week, they call me the Medicare lady. I help people successfully transition onto Medicare, sometimes Medicaid. I also help people with life insurance, long-term care insurance, and annuities. Please do not try to navigate Medicare without me. It's complicated. 813-476-4837.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
Call Ricky. Ask Ricky. You need medical or a lawyer? I got the man to do the legwork for you. We tried the other ones before, so believe we hunted down 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay. Call Ricky, he coming. He taking care of state of Florida. Grab a pen or sundown 1-800-361-RICK. That's 1-800-361-7425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, push your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 1-800-361-RICK. Call Ricky, ask Ricky, is a legal medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and giving you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
All right, we're back live on the Radio Reality Radio. About to start. I got my main man Carl on the phone. Carl, the trucker. We won't get into that part of we won't even talk about the trucker validation issue. But hey, so I call it the courthouse barbecue. And this is where some person we found out now. He drove from St. Augustine, Florida. He's hanging out in New York for the trial. He's there for just the haps, just see what's going down. And decides he's going to, throw out some pamphlets and set himself on fire and protest various conspiracies and things of that nature. And he does it. So what I've learned about when people set themselves on fire, what really kills them usually is they inhale the hot embers and the heat, hot air around them as they're burning, and they burn the inside of their lungs. And their lungs cannot then process oxygen, and that becomes one of the issues. Then your body responds with trying to treat it. Your lungs fill up with fluid. You get pneumonia, whatever you get. It's not a pretty death if you don't go down right on the spot. So this poor man is now intubated in a hospital up in New York, and who knows what they can ever do with him. But Carl, when you heard this was happening outside the Trump trial, what was your reaction? What were your thoughts?
Another crazy person. I mean, Trump has a way of just stirring up, crazy people or whatever. It's like he's another Jim Jones. This is really Jim Jones. He's and I can't wrap my mind around the fact that other people can't see, the psychology, the damage that that he does to the psychic of people.
I have a couple of triggers in my life about stuff, right? I have a trigger that goes off whenever somebody asks me for money. Anytime somebody asks me to borrow money, whether I've known you a long time or not or whatnot, I have a trigger that goes. It just immediately I start to analyze everything about you, how you live, how you think, how you work, everything about you. It just goes off, right? Another one is when you mess with my religion. That trigger goes off. Whenever somebody comes up, your religion is X, Y, I have an immediate analytical alarm bells are just ringing in my ding, 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 alert. And when it's clear to me, your life does not reflect the things that you're trying to tell me are the things that should be important to me. You can't come to me as on your third marriage and say, I am committed to the sanctity of marriage. And then you got a bunch of, ex-professional sex workers on the outside who you paid off. And you've got multiple wives. You definitely can't, say I'm a millionaire. I got so much money. Can I get $5? You can't do that. You just can't do it. it won't go over well. And he's done these things repeatedly and made a mockery of his followers. That's the thing that bothers me. It's he seems to make a mockery of his followers. So I'm not surprised that a crazy would attach to that. Somebody who's less stable would attach to that. And many of the people, I can't get it, the number of poor people who really don't have much giving him their money for his legal fees. It just doesn't add up. But let's talk about a couple other things, Carl, if you don't mind, real quick. It looks like Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, is getting the Ukraine and Israeli funding moving forward, $95 billion package. He needed some Democratic support to get it moving. My question is, it's going to pass, I think. But what's going to happen afterwards is your girl out of Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is going to move to vacate the speaker, I think. She's already made the motion. They've got about 3 people supporting it. So it's probably going to come to a head in the near future. If that does, should the Democrats help to save Mike Johnson and keep him as speaker, or should they let him go down in flames? What are your thoughts about that?
I think they need to happen because we do need a lot of bipartisan policies, to keep our country going. I mean, to deal with our economy, to keep some of our prices from going to stabilize. So if you get a lot of bipartisan policy, and then the next president that comes in, they can't change it. You need that. You need Mike Johnson, but our president, he's a good deal maker. He's a bipartisan president. So I think try to keep him in there.
You don't think though that the way America's set up now is Democratic all or Republican all? You believe that there's some middle ground where Democrats and Republicans actually work together?
Yes, they can, because back in the Reagan days, they did it. You just got all these. You just got the Republican Party being infiltrated by a lot of corporations with them. So the corporations run your Republican Party, and they're going to do in the best interest of the corporation instead of your middle class.
So I get the logic behind it. I would just say that they are mega billionaires, not necessarily corporate, but mega billionaires influencing both sides. On the Democratic side, you got people like Soros and Bloomberg and some of these other folks with more money than they could ever spend. They keep making up new ways of spending, and they still got more than they can spend. And then you got those people. I just worry that the average voter has been so brainwashed, and I'm talking on both sides, that the mere fact that you hear Democrats and Republicans are working together, there's immediate, well, why are you doing that? Or don't work with them, And so I think that, to me, may have a big influence on whatever Mike Johnson might try to do. Because Marjorie Taylor Greene she's going to come out and try to get rid of him. Now, doesn't it help the Democrats, though, to have the Republicans in more chaos as we go into the election season this summer, though?
Yes, that's true, but you still need your Republican Party to pass some of your bills. So,
well, that's presuming you want to pass bills. You're presuming that that you saw what happened with the border. We heard for 2.5 years, maybe 3 years, from Republicans, Biden, do something about the border. Do something about the border. Boom, they come up with the border bill. What does Trump say? No. Leave that on the table for me as an election issue. What do Republicans do? They leave it on the. They don't take any action then. So that says to me that they're not trying to govern. They're not trying to solve problems. They're trying to stay elected.
Right, they are, which they are. So now, but you got some a few that wants to pass bills. Some of them, they want to do the work of their constituency of the
But the core, the Republican base.
Your Marjorie Taylor.
Go ahead, Carl.
Your Marjorie Taylor Greene. Those, those ones that you need to get rid of and just take them out to the farm and just leave them somewhere.
But she's got about 80-90% support in her district. Your folks up in North Georgia love her. Why would she go? Who's going to get rid of her? Not her voters or not her constituents. Why would they?
You're right.
They love her. Why would they? So I don't know if that's realistic, and thinking in those terms. But most Democrats, if you were to tell them, hey man, Joe Biden worked with Donald Trump to get a bill passed, most Democrats would be, wait a minute, why is he working with Donald Trump? Not to say that Donald Trump would ever do that because he has no ability, but and I think that's more on the Republican side. I think what you're expressing, Carl, is that I think Democrats are open, like to advance this Ukraine-Israeli bill. The Democrats had no problem crossing the line to move that thing along, and they're going to push to see. I would not be surprised also if more Democrats vote for it than Republicans. That more of them come out in support of it, though. So your thoughts about that?
Yes, you do need both sides to govern. I mean, you do need both sides to govern. I think your Republicans they have lost their way.
Correct.
And we need to get rid, because these are some really hard times in the United States for our economy.
Right.
And you need the strategy of both of our parties to carry this load.
Perfect, though. Well, all right, Carl.
Like one politician said, sometimes, you need two people to carry the canoe to the water.
Gotcha. Well, Carl, thank you for calling in. Thank you for listening, and thank you most of all for what you do to keep that economy moving out there. Keep that truck rolling. Whoa, there it is. There's the oar horn, everybody. Carl the trucker calling in, y'all. All right, so that's Carl the trucker calling in out there on the road, giving his, I would say 2 cents. I think we got a full nickel out of him this time. He gave us a little bit more. So it's interesting that, it's and hearing his desire for more bipartisanship. I just don't know that the current iteration of the base Republican can stomach that. The art of compromise is important. I do a lot of mediations, Bezel, in my law practice. And the mediator starts off by saying, now, everybody leave happy. It's not a good mediation. It's a good mediation if everybody leave unhappy. You get some of what you want, but you get a lot what you don't want. And if both sides compromise and understand it's give and take, you're not going to get everything you want, and no one's going to give you everything that, you think they should. That's good mediation. And it's interesting watching that people's minds immediately, because they come to mediation thinking, I'm going to get what I want today. And immediately the mediator says that's not a good mediation. Mediation is where you accept less than what you want. The other side accepts less than what they want. Both of you do a give and take and come to a middle ground where you all can agree. And I just think that the current Republican Party is so vitriolic. These aren't your Reagan Republicans or Nixon Republicans. These are some different Republicans. And the good Republicans that are still standing over there saying, let me change it. The conservatives standing on the Republican banner have yet to figure out a way to deal with those crazy voices. Democrats did. We had some way outside folks storm into the building. You don't hear a lot out of them, though, and they definitely don't influence legislation. So let's take this last break, come back on the other side. I just got a litany of stuff that I want to rumble through. Stop at the red light, do a little talking to myself. If you want to call in, the call-in number is 813-444-9588. This is In Touch News Radio, reality radio. Everybody can be a star. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Radio, the most loved station across the nation. In Touch Radio. Tell a friend. In Touch Radio.
You've been injured. You deserve help from an attorney that knows how to handle your injury claim. This is Attorney Clinton Paris from the Law Office of Clinton Paris. For over a decade, I worked for insurance companies, and now I use that knowledge and experience to help people that have been injured. For a free consultation, call me, Attorney Clinton Paris, at 813-413-7924. That's 813-413-7924, or at parislawoffice.com. At the Law Office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being hurt. Offices, Riverview.
Hey, this is Atty Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers on the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
We're playing your favorite old school. Today's R&B. With a smooth touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
Reality radio. So I was talking off air. You know, heard Carl talk about bipartisanship, and once you vilify something, you make it evil and wicked and disgusting. It's hard to then treat it with the dignity and respect that you want it to be treated with. I detest a lot of the ideas I hear coming from some of these radical Republicans today. I mean, some of the stuff they spew out, I want to say you like under a rock somewhere. You got Marjorie Taylor Greene opposing the Ukraine funding because she says there are Nazis in Ukraine. That's her comment. And in fact, Russia's been running her interviews on its TV. Here's what American politicians think of the Ukrainians. But if you vilify something so much, it's hard to then make any kind of engagement with them where you give and you compromise and resolve. And I think that's one of the issues undercutting our Republicans right now and our Democrats in the ability to do bipartisanship. This Ukraine and Israeli funding is going to be much more bipartisan than people realize. And people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and some of the other, yahoos who seem like they dropped out the sky last week and know nothing about world history are going to be yelling and screaming, that's treason. You're working with the Democrats. So I'm not holding out hope that there's a lot of Democratic or Republican bipartisanship stuff coming this summer. And the question becomes, well, what do you do if you're the Democrats? Do you then go on the war path? You burn down Speaker Johnson. He gets pushed out. They barely got him in, so I don't know what they would do to get another speaker in. I really don't. I mean, they just just a conundrum. The last thing I want to talk about though is going to be our summer politics. So in campaigning. Last week. We had Donald Trump at Chick-fil-A. Donald Trump rolls in. The place was rocking, though, Belzo. I mean, come on, man. That was a great event. The only thing missing was a DJ. That's all. I mean, the place is rocking. It's full of young black people. People are working behind the counter. People want to take a picture with the man. He's yelling out orders. Hey, give me 30 milkshakes, everybody. Get a milkshake. Milkshakes, everybody.
You get a milkshake.
He's doing it, right? Well, this week, Biden got on the trail. He made a stop.
Did he give out milkshakes?
Not exactly. He stopped by Wawa's, to be with the people, right?
Wawa's.
Right. Yeah. So he rolls around in Wawa's a little bit.
I mean, he ain't getting no gas. I'm just saying.
But he did order a milkshake. He asked somebody, give me a milkshake. One milkshake.
Let me get one milkshake, too.
He got one milkshake, right? Then he's leaving.
Yeah.
He's riding through Scranton, and he gets upset because somebody has a kid outside with a Trump sign, and the kid is giving the president the finger.
Wow.
A kid is giving the president the finger.
Boy,
That's our summer. That's
How old do you think this kid is? 5, 6, 11?
I say probably
teenager.
10, 11 years
10,
old.
11 years old?
Yeah, because this now when you get 12, you're an adult. So I say.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's
10 years old, you're an adult according to
but
Disney.
I thought, man, I thought that was, here we have a kid. The president's instead of taking in the moment, hey, I just saw the president go by.
Right.
No,
instead he gets a finger by.
He gets the finger. A little bit. Have you ever seen the professional motorcade go by?
Yeah, I seen
Man,
Obama's.
It's almost like you can hear the drums from Coming to America playing as the thing is riding by
all day.
It's just an impressive. The motorcycles out front.
Yeah, I seen
the flags are flapping.
I seen Obama.
Man,
and Michelle.
Okay.
And all of them. Yeah. Because I went to Washington D.C.
Okay.
And I seen him. Well, from a distance though.
Right.
Him get into the big old motorcade. It's like.
Yeah, but it's
huge.
impressive though.
Yeah.
But a kid's response there, who's getting to see our government in its grandest glory, his thoughts are, "Let me shoot the bird."
Exactly.
That's the kid's thought. When the kid tells a story like you just said, hey, I saw the motorcade go by once. It was Joe Biden. Wow, Dad.
It was great.
He's a grandpa. He's okay. You know what I did, son?
Yeah.
I gave him the finger. Like that's how you celebrated that moment of the, and the lack of respect we have. But I thought about that. I was like, man, that's, for that kid, that parents robbed that kid of a great moment.
Yeah.
Because the day's going to come when that kid comes to a maturity and says, our government is our government. It's one thing to disagree with what they do, but you don't want to demean the office.
But that has to be
That's parenting. That's parenting.
Parenting.
And I agree with, and that goes into this bipartisanship of the current mindset of the current Republicans. They're so vitriolic that they couldn't even respect the fact, and this goes back to other things, like when Obama was president, somebody yelled from the floor.
Yeah.
You lie. That kind of stuff. Or the fact that was it Chris, the governor of Florida, he gets run out of office for a bro shake. President Obama comes to Florida, and all he does is meet the man and shake his hand.
Shake his hand. And
they basically run him out the party. You got to get out the party. Out of here.
Out the party.
Get out. Pack your get out of So I just think that vitriolic hostility is quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing I want to run across our folks is I'm trying to watch these Palestinian support protests. Of how they're operating and what's happening with them around the country. This week it was Columbia, basically shut down the university. They had protests. They've glued themselves to the tarmac in the streets, and they've built up little shanty towns. Let me tell you, man, I was involved in one of those when I was in college. Man, we built a little shanty on campus, and we were protesting Nelson Mandela being in prison, and we wanted the University of South Florida to divest in South Africa, so that was the push, and so. But I get the protesting of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder, what does it say? Because I don't believe that our politicians understand or appreciate how on the fence a large number of Americans are about what Israel is doing. We want to support Israel. We're going to support Israel. But we're saying, look, we want you to remember there's some innocence in the middle of this. When you just, it's kind of what happened to the United States during the Vietnam War. We went in with these carpet bombs and napalm bombs, and we burned out the whole village.
Take the whole village.
The whole village out, all the mountains, everything around it, saying, well, there are fighters in those areas. And ultimately, public opinion turned against us. Saying, but yeah, you're burning up innocent civilians and kids and families. And there's a crazy video from Vietnam that's iconic. It is the picture of somebody naked, burned, running out one of the fires. And I mean, it's just, there's no way you could look at that and say, we're doing a good thing. And I think that's what is, when right now you don't see as many photos coming out of the Gaza Strip as it's pretty bad in there. Hunger, food, things of that nature. Those people are really suffering.
Yeah, they are.
And you're creating the next generation of fighters.
Or terrorists.
Look, I'll tell you something. Look, I am pissed at the experience my parents had in America based on their race. And the wrong person on the wrong day mess with me, you may get some of that fire. Most of the time, I'm able to put in perspective and we move on. But any given day, you handle it wrong, I could get fired up about it. Because they were good people put into a bad system for no other reason than their race. When somebody tries to minimize that or disregard that, I get irritated by it. Because it's hurtful. Well, now you've got Israel. Now you've got people in Gaza who are innocent. They are not part of Hamas. And they're suffering or they lost a loved one, and that's going to become fuel. They may have otherwise remained, neutral, but now they've got a reason to get involved and be a part of battling against, Israel. And Israel is so knee-jerk, it hasn't realized, because I don't see anything in this that espouses the value system that some people want to say they have for Israel's existence and based on religious principles. And I say this to anybody supporting whatever you're doing. I look to see your principles applied in what you do. And what I'm seeing Israel do with Hamas is inconsistent with the religious values they're trying to promote that they believe in. So that's something that is a very, very factor in this. And so now you're having these protests regarding the treatment of the Palestinians bubbling up all over the country. Absolutely something that we need to be paying attention to because it's going to have a lot of effect going forward. And now that you have Iran willing to fire directly at Israel, that is an absolute line that hadn't been crossed before. And of course, Israel has responded, and Iran's like, "Yeah, that was nothing. Our kids hit harder than that, so we're not even going to respond to that." It's something to be for us to really keep in mind as we go forward. Listen, everybody, I don't know where you are. We last week, Bezel, I think the temperature was like in the low 70s, low humidity, and it's like somebody coughed this week and summer showed up. It's so hot outside. I think across the country the weather is warming up and people are getting out and about. I got on my Kappa shirt today, everybody. You wear a Kappa shirt every week. No, I don't. Got my Kappa shirt on today. I'm going to the Greek games here in Tampa over the NAACP building. Going to have a good time. All the Greeks are going to be competing. Check out the lineup of some of the competitions. You ready, Bezel?
Hit me.
Balloon toss.
Okay.
Three-legged race.
Three-legged race.
Three-legged race.
Gotta have a three-legged race.
Sack race. Musical chairs. And I'm pretty certain at some point in time, they're going to have a scroll off.
And
they're going to get a stroll.
And that's today.
Right, I'm going to head over there right now and get it set up.
So you have a sack race on 420.
Outstanding, man.
I'm just throwing out there.
Hey, man. So listen, everybody, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, get out. Get out and about. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the day. Things can always be bad. So when they're good, celebrate what's good. So be safe, and hopefully I'll see you back again here next week. Bye-bye.